The bedclothes were thrown back, exposing the king's bed linen, which was so worn that here and there holes could be seen. It was one of the results of Mazarin's niggardliness. The queen entered, and D'Artagnan remained at the door. As soon as the child perceived the queen, he escaped from Laporte and ran to meet her, and then motioned to D'Artagnan to approach. And he obeyed. "My son," said Anne of Austria, pointing to the musketeer, "come, standing uncovered, here is Monsieur d'Artagnan, who is as brave as one of those ancient heroes of whom you like so much to hear from my women. Remember his name well, and look at him well, that his face may not be forgotten, for this evening he is going to render us a great service." The young king looked at the officer with his large formed eye, and repeated, "Monsieur d'Artagnan, that is it, my son." The young king slowly raised his little hand and held it out to the musketeer. The latter bent on his knee and kissed it. "Monsieur d'Artagnan," repeated Louis very well. "Madame." At this moment they were startled by a noise as if a tumult were approaching. "What is that?" exclaimed the queen. "Oh, oh," replied D'Artagnan, straining both at the same time his quick ear and his intelligent glance. "It is the murmur of the populace in revolution." "We must fly," said the queen. "Your Majesty has given me the control of this business. We had better wait and see what they want. Monsieur d'Artagnan, I will answer for everything. Nothing is so catching as confidence." The queen, full of energy and courage, was quickly alive to these two virtues in others. "Do as you like," she said. "I rely upon you. Will your Majesty permit me to give orders in your name throughout this business?" "Command, sir." "What do the people want this time?" demanded the king. "We are about to ascertain." "Sire," replied D'Artagnan, as he rapidly left the room. The tumult continued to increase, and seemed to surround the Palais Royal entirely. Cries were heard from the interior, of which they could not comprehend the sense. It was evident that there was clamour and sedition. The king, half dressed, the queen and Laporte remained each in the same state and almost in the same place, where they were listening and waiting. Comminges, who was on guard that night at the Palais Royal, ran in. He had about 200 men in the courtyards and stables, and he placed them at the queen's disposal. "Well," asked Anne of Austria, when D'Artagnan reappeared, "what does it mean?" "It means, madame, that the report has spread that the queen has left the Palais Royal, carrying off the king, and the people asked to have proof to the contrary, or threatened to demolish the Palais Royal." "Oh, this time it is too much," exclaimed the queen, "and I will prove to them I have not left." D'Artagnan saw from the expression of the queen's face that she was about to issue some violent command. He approached her and said in a low voice, "Has your Majesty still confidence in me?" This voice startled her. "Yes, sir," she replied. "Every confidence, speak. Will the queen deign to follow my advice? Speak. Let your Majesty dismiss M. de Comminges and desire him to shut himself up with his men in the guardhouse and in the stables." Comminges glanced at D'Artagnan with the envious look with which every courtier sees a new favourite spring up. "You hear, Comminges?" said the queen. D'Artagnan went up to him. With his usual quickness he caught the anxious glance. "Monsieur de Comminges," he said, "pardon me. Are we not? It is my turn to be of use to her. Do not envy me this happiness." Comminges bowed and left. "Come," said D'Artagnan to himself, "I have got one more enemy. And now," said the queen, addressing D'Artagnan, "what is to be done? For you hear that, instead of becoming calmer, the noise increases." "Madame," said D'Artagnan, "the people want to see the king, and they must see him." "What must see him? Where on the balcony?" "Not at all, madame, but here, sleeping in his bed." "Oh, your Majesty," exclaimed Laporte, "Monsieur d'Artagnan is right." The queen became thoughtful and smiled, like a woman to whom duplicity is no stranger. Without doubt, she murmured. "Monsieur Laporte," said D'Artagnan, "go and announce to the people through the grating that they are going to be satisfied, and that in 5 minutes they shall not only see the king, but they shall see him in bed, and that the king sleeps, and that the queen begs that they will keep silence, so as not to awaken him,